Why you should not learn English. As a lifelong storyteller, I've encountered countless narratives, but few are as universally resonant as the journey of language acquisition. People often ask, why should I even bother learning English? Others lament, how do I even begin speaking? The paradox is fascinating, a delicate dance between perceived necessity and an overwhelming fear of imperfection. This tale seeks to untangle that very knot. Meet Lena, a brilliant young artist whose canvases exploded with vibrant life, speaking volumes without uttering a single word. Lena firmly believed her art transcended all linguistic barriers, a universal dialect understood by the heart. Why should I learn English? She'd often muse. My paintings don't need translations, they simply exist. This sentiment resonated deeply with her. She saw language as a tedious chore, an unnecessary entanglement that might somehow dilute the raw, unfiltered emotion of her brushstrokes. English, in particular, felt like an insurmountable mountain, full of strange rules and baffling idioms. Lena genuinely questioned its value for someone whose primary mode of expression was visual, not verbal, in her sanctuary. Friends would sometimes echo her thoughts, suggesting that perhaps a global audience wasn't truly necessary. Your local community loves your work, they'd say, and isn't that enough? Why stress over grammar and pronunciation when your genius lies elsewhere? These reassurances fortified Lena's stance, building a protective wall around her comfort zone, justifying her inaction perfectly. Yet, a tiny, persistent whisper of curiosity remained, a faint echo from the bustling online art forums she occasionally scrolled through. She'd glimpse conversations, opportunities, and connections she couldn't fully grasp. A subtle pang of what if would momentarily disturb her artistic peace, a fleeting thought swiftly dismissed, but never entirely forgotten, a seed planted. Then came the email, a digital parchment of destiny. An international gallery in New York, captivated by her online portfolio, extended an invitation, a solo exhibition. Lena's heart soared, then plummeted. The exhibition was an immense honor, a dream actualized, but it also meant interacting with curators, collectors, and critics whose lingua franca was unequivocally English. Panic set in, cold and immediate. I don't want to make mistakes, she wailed internally, but I always do. The thought of stuttering, mispronouncing, or misunderstanding filled her with an overwhelming dread. Her artistic confidence, usually robust, crumbled under the weight of linguistic inadequacy. This was a nightmare, an impossible hurdle. Her art, for the first time, felt incomplete without the ability to articulate its narrative, its soul, to a global audience. The universal language of art suddenly required a verbal counterpart. This wasn't about pleasing others, it was about truly representing herself, her vision, her passion. English transformed from an option into an absolute necessity. Taking a deep breath, Lena resolved to embark on the daunting journey. This wasn't merely about learning vocabulary, it was about conquering a deeply ingrained fear. The exhibition deadline loomed, a powerful motivator, pushing her past her initial reluctance. She decided she would face this challenge head-on, no matter how uncomfortable it felt. The first step, she realized, wasn't about mastering grammar books, but about taking the plunge into conversation. How to take first step for talking, she pondered, her mind racing. She remembered advice about starting small, finding safe spaces. A language exchange app seemed like a low-pressure environment, a perfect initial foray. She found Hiro, a kindly Japanese student eager to practice his conversational French in exchange for English help. Their first video call was awkward, punctuated by long silences and hesitant sentences. How to talk to people in pairs became her unspoken mantra, understanding the importance of a supportive partner. This was a true breakthrough moment. Every stumble, every wrong word, felt like a miniature disaster at first. But Hiro never laughed, only encouraged, patiently offering corrections. Lena gradually understood that "I don't want to make mistakes" was a paralyzing thought. Mistakes were not failures, they were essential data points, guiding her path, proving she was actually trying. She started consciously trying to think in English. Instead of translating from her native tongue, she'd try to form sentences directly. Describing her surroundings, narrating her daily activities in her mind, even arguing with herself silently in English. This mental exercise proved surprisingly effective, laying a crucial foundation for fluency development. Her studio, once a fortress against English, transformed into an immersion zone. English podcasts played softly while she painted. She watched American and British movies, first with subtitles, then without. Every new word, every phrase, became a brushstroke on her linguistic canvas. This constant exposure accelerated her progress immensely. She began labeling objects around her house in English, reciting the names aloud. She practiced common phrases, role-playing conversations with herself in the mirror. Repetition was key, solidifying new vocabulary and grammatical structures. It felt silly sometimes, but she committed to the process, understanding consistency was paramount. Beyond Hiro, she sought out other opportunities. A local English conversation club, initially intimidating, became a weekly ritual. Surrounded by diverse learners, she realized everyone was there for the same reason: to improve, to connect. The shared vulnerability fostered an incredibly supportive environment for practical application. She paid close attention to how people speak English in natural settings. Not just the words, but the rhythm, the intonation, the body language. She noticed different accents, varying speeds, and colloquialisms. This observation helped her tune her ear and understand the nuances that textbooks often missed, enriching her comprehension. Lena learned to silence her inner critic. Instead of "that sounded stupid," she'd reframe it as "I tried, and I learned." This positive self-talk was vital for maintaining motivation. The journey wasn't linear, there were days of frustration, but her determination to communicate her art kept her pushing forward relentlessly. Each successful interaction, no matter how brief, fueled her confidence. Ordering coffee in English, asking for directions, understanding a joke, these small victories accumulated, demonstrating tangible progress. Her initial terror began to recede, replaced by a growing sense of capability. The fear of mistakes diminished significantly. She started writing short descriptions of her paintings in English, attempting to convey their meaning. This exercise seamlessly blended her two passions, making the language feel less like a separate chore and more like an extension of her creative expression. English became another tool in her artistic arsenal, not a barrier. Fluency, she discovered, wasn't about perfect grammar or an expansive vocabulary. It was about the ability to communicate smoothly, to express thoughts without excessive hesitation. To how to improve your fluency, she focused on continuous speaking, prioritizing flow over faultlessness. The words came more naturally, with less conscious effort. The New York exhibition date loomed closer, no longer a source of dread but of exhilarating anticipation. Lena felt a quiet confidence blooming within her. She knew she wouldn't be perfect, but she was no longer afraid of that imperfection. She was ready to speak, to connect, to share her story authentically. Stepping off the plane in New York, the vibrant cacophony of English speakers surrounded her. Instead of feeling overwhelmed, she felt an exciting surge of understanding. The city's energy, once a potential linguistic minefield, now felt like a symphony she could finally appreciate, a living, breathing language laboratory. At the gallery, she introduced herself to the curator, her voice clear and steady. She explained the concepts behind her abstract pieces, her words flowing more easily than she ever imagined possible. The curator listened intently, asking insightful questions, and Lena found herself responding with ease. Collectors approached her, curious about her inspirations. She shared stories, anecdotes, and her artistic philosophy. Each conversation felt less like an interview and more like a genuine exchange, a meeting of minds. The fear of making mistakes had largely dissipated, replaced by the joy of connecting meaningfully. She realized that English wasn't just a language, it was a bridge. It allowed her to connect with people from vastly different backgrounds, sharing her art in ways purely visual communication never could. The depth of interaction was profoundly satisfying, enriching her artistic journey immeasurably, making every struggle worthwhile. An elderly woman, a renowned art critic, spent a long time in front of Lena's most complex piece. She turned to Lena, her eyes full of curiosity. Lena described the emotional landscape of the painting, using vivid English imagery, articulating nuances she once thought unspeakable in a foreign tongue. It was a moment of pure magic. In that moment, Lena understood completely why you should learn English. It wasn't about obligation, it was about opening doors to new perspectives, new audiences, new friendships. It was about expanding her own world, not shrinking it in fear. Her initial resistance now seemed quaint, almost unbelievable. She still made occasional errors, of course, but they no longer derailed her. Instead, she'd either self-correct or simply move on, confident that her message was understood. The old anxiety, "I don't want to make mistake but I always why," was replaced by a pragmatic acceptance. Mistakes were simply part of the journey. Her fluency continued to grow, not as a finished product, but as an ongoing evolution. Every new interaction, every new book read, every new song listened to, added another layer to her linguistic prowess. She understood that language learning was a lifelong pursuit, a beautiful, ever-unfolding process. Her English was becoming as expressive and nuanced as her painting. She could articulate the subtle shifts in her creative process, the philosophical underpinnings of her color choices, and the emotional resonance of her forms. The two forms of expression were now inextricably linked, each enriching the other immensely. Looking back at her initial resistance, Lena chuckled. The fear, the excuses, the why not arguments seemed so trivial now. They had been self-imposed limitations, born from discomfort rather than any true barrier. The courage to step beyond them had unlocked an entirely new dimension of her life. Learning English hadn't just expanded her artistic reach, it had profoundly transformed her as a person. She felt more confident, more adaptable, more open to the world's complexities. The process itself had been a profound exercise in resilience, teaching her invaluable lessons far beyond mere vocabulary. Now, when she listened to how people speak English, she heard not just words, but stories, accents, and unique rhythms. She understood that language was a living entity, constantly evolving, reflecting the diverse tapestry of human experience. Her appreciation for linguistic diversity deepened considerably. The moments of effortless communication, when thoughts flowed from her mind to her lips without conscious translation, were pure joy. This was the essence of true fluency, not just understanding, but spontaneously generating. It was a liberation, freeing her to fully engage with the world around her, without hesitation. If someone asked her now, how to learn English? Lena would smile. She'd say, start talking, even if it's just to yourself. Embrace every mistake as a lesson. Find a partner. Immerse yourself. And most importantly, find your why, the deep motivation that will carry you through the challenges. She'd emphasize the importance of how to think and speak in English, rather than translating mentally. It's about rewiring your brain, she'd explain, creating new neural pathways for direct expression. This fundamental shift was pivotal in accelerating her progress, moving beyond rote memorization. The initial courage to how to talk to people in pairs with Hero had been foundational. She'd advocate for finding a supportive, non-judgmental partner, emphasizing that true learning often happens in those vulnerable, one-on-one exchanges. It builds confidence far more rapidly than any solitary study. And for those who echoed her old lament, I don't want to make mistake but I always why, she'd offer a gentle reminder, mistakes are not indicative of failure, they are evidence of effort. Every error is a step closer to accuracy. Stop trying to be perfect, just try to be understood. That's true progress. English became more than a language for Lena, it became a key to global understanding. It allowed her to read international news, engage with diverse cultural perspectives, and understand nuances previously inaccessible. Her worldview broadened exponentially, making her a more informed, empathetic individual. Upon her return home, new opportunities blossomed. International collaborations, online interviews, and even teaching workshops for aspiring artists abroad, all conducted confidently in English. Her success wasn't just artistic, it was a testament to her linguistic tenacity, inspiring many around her to learn. Lena, once the staunch advocate for why you should not learn English, had become its most passionate proponent. Not for everyone, she acknowledged, but for anyone seeking to expand their horizons. Her own transformation was living proof of the profound benefits waiting to be discovered. As a storyteller, I find Lena's journey particularly compelling. It's a microcosm of the human spirit's ability to overcome self-imposed barriers. Her path from apprehension to articulation, from isolation to global connection, embodies the true essence of learning any new skill, especially a language. The subtle art of how to improve your fluency, as Lena demonstrated, lies not in relentless study, but in consistent, joyful application. It's about creating a natural environment where language use becomes second nature, like a comfortable, well-worn artistic tool. It's an organic, beautiful process. It's about understanding that communication transcends perfect grammar and expansive vocabulary. It's about conveying meaning, connecting with another soul. Lena's focus shifted from correctness to connection, and that pivotal change unlocked her true linguistic potential, far beyond what any textbook could teach. She learned to appreciate the beauty in how people speak English with different accents and dialects. Each variation added richness, a unique flavor to the global tapestry of the language. There was no single correct way, only countless authentic expressions, all valid and beautiful. The internal shift Lena experienced from "I don't want to make mistake but I always like to I'll make mistakes, and that's okay" was the most profound. This mental liberation freed her from the paralysis of perfectionism, allowing her voice to emerge, authentic and uninhibited, ready for the world. For Lena, English ultimately became another medium, another art form. Her words, like her brushstrokes, now conveyed depth and emotion. She understood that language, like art, is not about flawless replication, but about creative expression, about painting vivid pictures with sound and meaning. So, if you're standing at the precipice of learning English, hesitant or overwhelmed, consider Lena's journey. The initial why not often masks a deeper fear. The how-to is a journey of small, consistent steps, fueled by a genuine desire to connect, to understand, to expand your universe. The reward isn't just a new skill, it's a new perspective. It's the ability to bridge cultural gaps, to share your unique story with a wider audience, and to absorb the wisdom of the world firsthand. It's an investment in yourself, yielding dividends far beyond linguistic proficiency. Don't let the fear of "I don't want to make mistake but I always why" hold you back. Take that first step for talking, however small. Find someone to talk to in pairs. Embrace the process. You might just discover a part of yourself you never knew existed, waiting to be unleashed. Learning English transcends merely acquiring a language. It's about cultural integration, personal empowerment, and intellectual expansion. It fosters empathy as you navigate diverse communication styles, and it broadens your understanding of humanity. It truly opens up the entire world. Lena's story is a testament to resilience, a vibrant canvas illustrating that the greatest barriers are often those we construct ourselves. Her art now speaks in multiple dimensions, visually and verbally, reaching hearts and minds across continents, a true global artist. So, if you've ever wondered how to learn English, or hesitated because "I don't want to make mistake," remember Lena. Your voice, your story, your art, whatever it may be, deserves to be heard, understood, and celebrated globally. Start today. The world is listening. The journey of language is rarely linear, but always enriching. It's a path paved with effort, punctuated by breakthroughs, and ultimately leading to unparalleled connection. Embrace it, for in every new word and every new conversation, you discover a little more about yourself and the vast, beautiful world.